Hey everyone, it's Dad and Riley here from Coaster Fam. Today we're going to be ranking all of the coasters at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. Kings Island is just outside of Cincinnati. It's an enthusiast dream park. It has 14 coasters and really fast and efficient operations. It's owned by Cedar Fair and is one of their flagship parks. Let's jump right in. At number 14, the Great Pumpkin Coaster. The Great Pumpkin Coaster is manufactured by E&F Myler. It debuted in 1992 in the Planet Snoopy area of the park, which is the kiddie area. It's kind of a first step coaster for the little ones, and though it's a kiddie coaster, it has a few pretty good pops of airtime. There are several clones of these around. They're all pretty fun. At number 13, Flying Ace Aerial Chase. Flying Ace Aerial Chase is a Vekoma suspended family coaster that debuted in 2001. It's also in the Planet Snoopy area. Stands at 48 foot tall and hits 26 miles an hour. It's kind of a jerky ride. It's not terrible, but it's just kind of meh for adults. But it's a great next step up from something like the Great Pumpkin Coaster. The little ones will definitely enjoy it. At number 12, we have the Racer. The Racer is an old PTC Woody that was built in 1972. Designed by John C. Allen, it's credited with kicking off the Coaster Wars. It's a dueling coaster with the red and blue side that are mirrored images of each other. It stands at 88 feet tall and hits 53 miles an hour. The ride experience is a little bit rough. It's to be expected with a Woody from 1972. We only got to ride the one side because the other side was down at the time. It was still fun. I mean, nothing to write home about, but respect your elders and all. At number 11, we have INVERTIGO. INVERTIGO is a Vekoma inverted shuttle coaster. It's essentially just an inverted boomerang, which there's a bunch of clones of all over the place. It debuted in 1999 when Paramount owned the park, under the name Face Off after the movie. Its highest point is 131 feet tall, and it reaches 50 miles an hour. It has a cobra roll and a vertical loop, which pulls some pretty good G's. But the restraints are pretty terrible. It's these rubber things that are right next to your ears that I guess are supposed to prevent head banging. But it's just kind of like being in a dryer blindfolded. It's not that rough, though. At number 10 is Woodstock Express. Woodstock Express is a PTC family coaster that was built in 1972. It stands at 38 feet tall and reaches 35 miles an hour. This is a really great family coaster. Great kiddie coaster all around. It's great for the little ones. My 4-year-old absolutely loved it. I loved it far more than the coasters before on this list. I enjoyed it a lot more than my ride on the Racer. Definitely, I'd say. It's got like a little rattle because it's an old Woody, but definitely not terrible. It also has a pretty good ride duration. It goes around for 3 laps, and there's some pretty good little, airtime pops here and there for a family coaster. There are some clones of this around at some other parks, I believe, and I'll look forward to riding them. At number 9, we have Adventure Express. Adventure Express is Kings Island's mine train. It's built by Aerodynamics in 1991. The highest point is 63 feet tall, and it reaches 35 miles an hour. This thing is pretty good. Like, it feels like a really long ride, and you're just kind of secluded out in the woods. It's a little bit jerky, but not terrible. I mean, it's a mine train. But the tunnels have some pretty decent theming in them. It's kind of like a Tomb Raider theme almost, like Indiana Jones or Legends of the Hidden Temple or something, especially in the final tunnel that's on like a chain lift. But it's kind of anticlimactic, and I'll leave it at that. Number 8, BACKLOT Stunt Coaster. BACKLOT Stunt Coaster was built in 2005 by Premier. It's a launch coaster that goes from 0 to 40 in 3 seconds. It was originally themed to the Italian Job movie when Paramount owned the park. The ride experience starts off really well and then just kind of falls into meh for the rest of the ride to me. The launch is pretty forceful. It shoots you right into that like triple upward helix. I definitely grade out on. Pretty good forces on that, but then the ride's kind of jerky, but the theming's pretty good, so that was okay. What are your opinions? I know you loved this one, didn't you?
No.
Not at all.
No.
At number 7 is Flight of Fear. Flight of Fear is an indoor premier launch coaster that was built in 1996. It reaches a max height of 74 feet and a max speed of 54 miles an hour. The launch to start the ride goes from 0 to 54 miles an hour in 4 seconds. Right into a cobra roll, which is the first of 4 inversions. So the ride is indoors. It's almost completely pitch black. You can barely see in there. There's some really good theming in the queue line and in the station. You walk up into a spaceship essentially, and there are, alien tubes around. The ride experience is pretty rough. The launch is really powerful and forceful, and it shoots you right into that tunnel, right into pitch black. Kind of jerky, like my head was banging around a good bit, but still a pretty fun and intense ride being in the dark. What's your opinion?
Well, I kind of feel the same as you. I think it was pretty jerky, and it's indoors, and I like how it's indoors.
At least there's AC, right?
Yeah.
At number 6 is the Bat. The Bat is an air suspended coaster that was built in 1993. It was originally themed to Top Gun when Paramount owned the park. Its max height is 78 feet, and it reaches a max speed of 51 miles an hour. The ride experience on this was pretty good. I mean, it's pretty intense. I was looking forward to riding one of these finally. I think there's only like 5 left, maybe. And they used to have one called the Bat, one of these that was like, it lasted for like 2 years, I think. And they built this one and then rethemed it to the Bat as kind of a tribute. What's your opinion?
Well, I didn't like it that much. I feel like I wouldn't have a reason to ride it again.
I'll definitely ride it again. At number 5 is the Beast. The Beast is a legendary wooden coaster that was built in 1979. It was built by the park and Charles Den, who at the time was the director of construction engineering for the park. He would go on to form his own company later on. Its max height is 110 feet with a 130-foot drop into a tunnel. It reaches a max speed of 64 miles an hour, which is incredibly fast for a wooden coaster. Its track length is a whopping 7,359 feet long, making it the longest wooden coaster in the world and the longest coaster overall in the U.S., I believe. It has 2 lift hills because it's so long. You're very secluded back in the woods. It's an awesome ride. We didn't get a night ride on it, but I hear it's legendary night ride. I totally get the hype for this thing. I mean, it's rough, but, it's built in 1979. What are you going to do? Still a blast, though. You have any opinions about this?
Well, I don't like wooden coasters that much, so I didn't like it as much as you probably do. But that double helix was awesome.
Yeah, the helix is totally awesome. The tunnel goes on forever. It's a sick ride. At number 4 is Banshee. Banshee is a B&M invert that was built in 2014 on the site of what used to be Son of Beast. It stands at 167 feet tall. It reaches 68 miles an hour, and it is the longest invert in the world at 4,124 feet of track length. It has 7 inversions, including a dive loop, 2 vertical loops, and a super sick inline twist at the end. It's like awesome hang time. It's my favorite part of the ride. All of the elements are really cool on this. I would say it's intense, but not as intense as like a Batman clone, just because of the track length. The elements are all spread out more than a Batman clone is, but it's still really, really sick. What's your opinion of Banshee?
Well, it was rougher than I thought it was going to be, but overall I liked it.
Yeah, we rode in the front row, but there's still a little bit of a rattle, which is weird to me. I mean, Batman's... the Batman clones have a little bit of a rattle to me, but I don't know. It's odd. This thing's pretty new to have a rattle. I thought it was kind of odd. Still a really sick ride, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and now the moment we've all been waiting for. The Kings Island top 3 coasters. So this was really hard for me. I knew the coasters that were going to be in the top 3, but the order was really tough, especially the top 2. I'm sure other people will have a different order of this top 3, if I had to guess.
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
The number 3 coaster at Kings Island is Diamondback. Diamondback is a B&M Hyper that was built in 2009. Its max height is 230 feet, and it reaches a max speed of 80 miles an hour at the bottom of the first drop, which is a 74-degree angle. It has a long 5,282 feet track length, and you feel every foot of that. It feels like it does go on forever. A really cool splashdown element at the end that's cool to see, and some good airtime, some decent floater airtime like all B&M Hypers have. I didn't like it as much as Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. It's not as aggressive of a ride as Goliath is, and the airtime's not as strong. What's your opinion of Diamondback?
Well, I like this coaster a lot, and I disagree with you from the ranking. It's actually my number 2, not 3.
Well, that's pretty close in ranking. That's 1 spot off. It's not too bad. I have heard a lot of people say that they still prefer Diamondback over Orion, and I get that. I mean, it feels like a longer ride because it's not quite as fast. It has a lot more airtime hills. I don't know, it's still great. Still a great ride. It's a B&M Hyper. I mean, I love it. I would ride again, for sure. The number 2 coaster at Kings Island is Orion. Orion is a B&M Giga that just opened in 2020. It stands at 287 feet tall with a 300-foot drop at an 85-degree angle. It reaches 91 miles an hour. It's 5,321 feet long. This cost Kings Island $30 million to build, which is the most they've ever spent on anything. The theming is really great around this. They have the new Area 72 area of the park, which is like themed to almost like a NASA space kind of thing. The queue has a bunch of Easter eggs to old coasters in it. It's a whole NASA kind of space theme. It has an awesome first drop. It punched me right in the gut every time. We rode this thing 3 times. The wave turn is super sick. When you're in the wave turn, you look straight down on the ground. It looks like, I mean, you're 200 feet off the ground looking down to your left. Awesome turnaround, super intense. Speed hill, awesome. Pops of airtime. Good little airtime pop hill right at the end. The sense of speed on this thing is really great. That's really why I have it ranked above Diamondback personally. It's just more of an intense ride. It's got a longer track length, but it feels way shorter just because of how fast 91 miles an hour is. What's your opinion on Orion?
I loved it. It's my number 1, and I think it's the best coaster on the earth.
Really? Number 1. I mean, yeah, I could see where that would be. I had a really, really tough time juggling this one between number 2 and number 1. Overall, I mean, it's the first Giga we've ridden, which is probably good because we don't have another one to compare it to. Number 1. Mystic Timbers. Mystic Timbers is a GCI that was built in 2017. It stands at 109 feet tall and reaches 53 miles an hour. Has that curved first drop that a lot of GCIs have. It's out and back layout, out into the woods, over the river. Amazingly intense start to finish ride. Some really good theming, really cool, like kind of creepy theming and creepy music all over the place. Really intense, like pacing. The whole thing is just ejector moment after ejector airtime moment. It's kind of like riding half of the voyage or like a quarter of the voyage, if we're being honest. So it's that intensity nonstop, but you don't feel like you want to die at the end because it's, a good length. Really quickly paced. Great. It has the shed at the end, which is like kind of a creepy show scene thing. I thought it was cool. It's probably maybe a lot of people, I don't know, were anticipating the shed a little too much. You gotta like pay attention more to how good the ride actually is. I mean, I think it's my number 2 or 3 overall, I'd say. What's your opinion on Mystic Timbers?
Well, it's actually one of the better wooden coasters I've ridden, and it's my number 3 at Kings Island. Diamondback and Orion are ranked higher than it. But overall, I kind of liked it.
That's fair. I think a lot of people would have this in their top 3, and rightfully so. I think it's one of the best coasters on the planet. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and don't go into the shed, and we'll see you next time.